Hi everybody, it's Miss Amy and I'm here to bring chapter 38 of Roald Dahl's James and the Giant Peach to you. Now boys and girls, I'm just going to do one tiny little chapter because I'm trying to drag this out here because we're almost done and the next two chapters are itsy bitsy teeny weeny and I'm waiting on another book. I won't wait forever. I do right over there have a bookshelf full of books, but I'm waiting on the Return of the Indian and I want to start that next. But if it doesn't come soon, then guess what? I'll have to start one of those. I have some good ones over there that I've never even read, so we'll read them together. But anyways, boys and girls, just remember Miss Amy does not own the rights to Roald Dahl's James and the Giant Peach. She just owns the book and she's glad she gets to share it with you. Now, like I said, I'm waiting on Return of the Indian, I believe is what it's called, in the mail. If you did not see my first set of chapter book readings, I read The Indian in the Cupboard, so I have the sequel coming in the mail. So you might want to go back and check it out before I start reading those if you're enjoying these chapter books, before I actually start Return of the Indian. That way you know what's going on. But back to Roald Dahl's James and the Giant Peach. Boys and girls, when we left in chapter 36 and 37, that big old peach had landed on the Empire State Building in New York City. That spike went straight up into that peach. And all the policemen and the firemen were like, what is going on? They thought they were aliens. But finally, James, the human and not the insect, finally came out and he began to do a show introducing each of those wonderful insects. And then the police chief and the firemen weren't so worried about it. So let's go ahead and look into chapter 38. It's a very short chapter, but you've bared with me for very long videos, so it might be nice just to have to listen to Miss Amy for about 5-10 minutes today, then 20. Maybe you like that. I don't know. But either way, let's go ahead and crack the spine in our second to last chapter of James and the Giant Peach, chapter 38. 5 minutes later, they were all safely down, and James was excitedly telling his story to a group of flabbergasted officials. So, yeah, the police chief and the fire chief, anyways, they let him down. So they must not be so scared anymore. That's a good thing. And suddenly, everyone who had come over on the Peach was a hero. They were all escorted to the steps of City Hall, where the mayor of New York made a speech and welcome. Now, of course, I'm doing a lot of plugs today. I'm not going to lie, I'm trying to get a few more subscriptions and thumbs up. They were talking about all the insects becoming heroes. I just wanted to let you know Miss Amy and her husband, Mr. Matt, as Steve the Puppet, had done a recent thing for their church puppet show, puppet ministry, not really a show, on superheroes, and that's on my page too if you want to check it out. I don't know, there's a couple children's ministries things in there, just in case you like puppets. If you don't like puppets, then go ahead and stay away. But it was about superheroes too, and that was a reminder. So yeah, there's another plug. Miss Amy doesn't plug very often, but there's a plug. And since I'm just going to go ahead and do all these silly plugs, let me also tell you, Miss Amy's husband, if you're a gamer, he has a YouTube video or page called The Goofy Gamer. And he's playing games. I think he does Fortnite. Oh, yeah, I see you getting excited about some Fortnite. He does Fortnite, The Forest, and I think it's In the Deep. I don't know. Anyways, if you're into gaming, you might check him out on Goofy Gamer. Also, my whole family has a YouTube channel on YouTube. Also, it's called The Breezy Broadcasters, and there's a white picture with a blue cloud and it going. Okay, I'm done plugging, but just in case you get bored, summertime's coming, you might need something good and clean to watch. There you go. Now you got something. All right. Oh, yes. And we're going back to the book now, Miss Amy, right? Stop with the plug. Okay, back to it. 5 minutes later, they were all safely down, and James was excitedly telling his story to a group of flabbergasted officials. And suddenly, everyone who had come over on the Peach was a hero! They were all escorted to the steps of City Hall where the mayor of New York made a speech of welcome. And while he was doing this, 100 steeplejacks armed with ropes and ladders and police swarmed up to the top of the Empire State Building and lifted the giant peach off the spike and lowered it to the ground. Ooh, that had to have been a task. Then the mayor shouted, "We must now have a ticker tape parade for our wonderful visitors." And so a procession was formed, and in the leading car, which was an enormous open limousine, sat James and all his friends. Next came the giant peach itself. Men with cranes and hooks and quickly hoisted it onto a very large truck, and there it now sat, looking just as huge and proud and brave as ever. There was, of course, a bit of a hole in the bottom of it where the spike of the Empire State Building had gone in, but who cared about that, or indeed about the peach juice that was dripping out of it onto the street? Ooh, that's going to be a sticky, icky mess. And I betcha, I'm just curious, we'll have to see, but I bet that peach might start rotting. That'll be a sad day. Guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. Behind the peach, skidding above all over the place in the peach juice, came the mayor's limousine. And behind the mayor's limousine came about 20 other limousines carrying all the important people of the city. Gotta wave like you're in a parade, you know. And the crowds went wild with excitement. They leaned out the window of a skyscrapers, cheering and yelling, "Woo! Yeah! Woo!" and screaming and clapping. "Bravo! Yeah!" Cheering and yelling and screaming and clapping and throwing out bits of white paper and ticker tape. And James and his friends stood up in their car and waved back at them as they went by. I wonder if Spider waved all her hands or just one. What about Centipede and his 42 legs? Did he just wave one, or did he wave all 42? Things that make you go, Then a rather curious thing happened. The procession was moving slowly along Fifth Avenue when suddenly a little girl in a red dress ran out from the crowd and shouted, "Oh, James! James! Could I please have just a tiny taste of that marvelous peach?" "Help yourself," James shouted back. "Eat all you want. It won't keep forever anyway." No sooner had he said that, about 50 other children exploded out of the crowd and came running onto the street. "Can we have some too?" they cried. "Of course you can," James answered. "Everyone can have some." The children jumped up into the truck and swarmed like ants all over that giant peach, eating and eating and eating till their hearts were content. And as the news of what happened spread quickly from street to street, more and more boys and girls came running from all directions to join the feast. Soon, there was a trail of children a mile long chasing after the peach as it proceeded slowly up Fifth Avenue. Really, it was a fantastic sight. To some people, it looked as though the Pied Piper of Hamelin had suddenly descended upon New York. And to James, who had never dreamed that there could be so many children as this in the world, it was the most marvelous thing that had ever happened. By the time the procession was over, the whole gigantic peach had been completely eaten up, and only the big brown stone, or as Miss Amy calls it, the pit, only the big brown stone in the middle, licked clean and shiny by 10,000 eager little tongues, was left standing on the truck. And there is the peach before it got all gobbled up in the parade with all the people around. And right here is James and all his friends in an open limousine. That must be the little girl going to ask if she can eat some of that peach. And that is actually the end of chapter 38. Boys and girls, I am just dragging out this chapter book because I want to finish it with you. But it is so sweet that James, a little young boy who had such a happy life until the rhinoceros ate his parents. You know, I seem to get emotional at the end of these books. I don't know why. I guess because it's the end. He had so much, and then his parents passed away, and he got stuck with Aunt Spiker and Sponge, and they were so unkind to him, and he never got anything good, and he couldn't play with other children, and they made him do horrible, horrible things, and then he met this wonderful man who gave him the green crystals and stones, and even though he fell and the seeds went into the grass, and it was like a horrible thing for him, I'm sure, at first, because he thought he probably ruined it. And yet something miraculous still came true. And I'm not even at the end of this, and I'm crying. But boys and girls, you know, something miraculous happened. He made friends. He's got all these wonderful friends who care about him and believe in him and love him on this peach. These insects, they just knew that he can. There was hope in him, and he was a good boy. And then all these awful things happen, and the peach goes sinking, and they thought the sharks were going to eat him, and then they thought that the captain was going to shoot him down, and then the cloudmen threw hailstones and awful things at him, and yet they still survived to end up in New York City, where the police chief and the firemen, they thought they were bad and aliens, and they were scared, and yet now here they're welcoming them in and making them heroes. And James didn't let that go to his head, boys and girls. He was humble. And this young girl, and I know back in the day, we hear, if you read a lot of books like Oliver and other things, now that might have been in England, but I'm not positive. But anyways, back in the day, you know, one of my favorite movies from Disney is Newsies. You know, there wasn't a lot of money during the Depression, and this was kind of around that era, and so there wasn't a lot of money. And that little girl with the red dress came out, and, you know, she took the chance, and she ran out to James on that peach in the parade, and they let her through, and she said, "Can I just taste that peach?" You know, this peach is everything that changed James's life. It gave him new friends and adventure, and now it makes him look like a hero, and yet he still, you know, when she asked, he still said, "Yeah, eat the peach. There's plenty of it to go around." And he allowed all these children to eat the peach, and now the peach is gone. Everything that was marvelous, he was willing to share every last bit of it. He wasn't trying to be stingy or trying to save it, boys and girls. He shared it with these children, and many of them probably had no food. And I know this is not a true story, and I know I'm getting emotional, boys and girls. I guess it's because it's getting to the end. And we still have one more chapter. Maybe I'll get emotional today and not tomorrow. I don't know. But boys and girls, even when we have all, even when we came from something to nothing, and then we have everything, we can still share it with others. And that's one of the reasons why I love even sharing a book with you. I know you're not eating it, or it's not a tasty treat, but God, I mean, it just means so much to me. Books can just bring us into a new world, and they can change our perspective. And here's James. His whole perspective's changed with this peach. He's not being greedy, and he's sharing it with others. So I want to encourage you as I close with this chapter 38. Not even done with the book of Roald Dahl and James and the Giant Peach. But as I close, I just want you guys to know that even when we have lots, we can share. And when we have nothing, we can share. And there's always hope. And there's always an opportunity for us to do good into others' lives. And we shouldn't let our heads get as big as that peach. And we should always make sure we take care of others and love others and be kind. So boys and girls, tomorrow we will be ending Roald Dahl's James and the Giant Peaches chapter 39. And it's going to be short. And maybe I'll share some of the little poems at the end. But boys and girls, I just want you to know I really do enjoy reading these books with you. So thank you for sharing another book with me. We'll read the last chapter tomorrow, chapter 39. And if you're watching this before bedtime, just know that Miss Amy loves you. Even though I may not even know you, I love that you're listening. And good night and sleep tight.